It's a random live stream here on the Black Tower podcast. Um, I was awake. I couldn't sleep. So I said, screw it. I'm going to do this because why not? So I'm doing well. How is everybody else doing? I wish I could make this screen smaller, but I'm using StreamYard. So I'm kind of limited on the kind of more specific OBS style, like scaling things that I can do. But yeah. So yeah, I was awake, couldn't sleep, kind of bored. And I was like, let's do a live stream because why not? And there's plenty to talk about with the Wheel of Time. So, it just kind of is what it is as I try to navigate YouTube stuff and try to get it to let me manage. I can't change the latency. That sucks. So, yeah, it's been a big day for Wheel of Time content creators, for Wheel of Time fans, for just the Wheel of Time in general, right? They all just finished watching part one of the. It warms my heart. The editing on that was a lot, but it was a lot of fun. Marshadi brought a lot of really good points to the trailer breakdown, as you would expect of the Fat Checker Mahale. So there you go. Something you can catch in your time zone. I'm glad I could do something for you, non-LZ. It's purely insomnia, not being able to sleep and being like, what is the worst thing I can possibly think of to do? A solo live stream. So, but yeah, so this should be live on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter. So if you're watching us on one of those other places, I should be able to see your comments. So by all means, feel free to make them if you're watching us on Twitch or Twitter or wherever. Also, feel free to lurk in the shadows and say nothing. So, let's see. Clay, you're 28 pages from finishing Dragon Reborn. Nice. I have a buddy at work that found he had 12 free Audible credits, and he is in book 4 now. So, that's pretty dope. So, what's everybody up to this evening? Shadow Rising. I'm so bad at remembering what books come in what order. Like I can remember 1 through 3, and then like 12 through 14, and that's about it. I don't know why. But what did you guys think of all the announcements today? All of the content creators and community members that are going to be doing this amazing stuff in the next coming weeks. The premiere for the Wheel of Time in London, the screenings around the United States, like just it's incredible, right? Just finished a movie called Play or Die. I can't say I've seen that one. So much FOMO about early. Yeah, same. They're all too far for me. Like the closest one I think is Atlanta to me, and it's still an 8-hour drive. And I only know because I rode the bike to JordanCon last time, and that was like 8.5, 9 hours. So, but yeah, I was just sitting here kind of like, I'm not tired, and I feel like doing watch stuff. And there's probably a little bit of FOMO for the screening stuff that I'm going to be missing out on, and some hype for tomorrow. I'm super hyped. Well, technically now for the Eastern Time Zone for today, but I'm hyped for any of it. But Vets Discuss is kind of like a culmination of something I've wanted to do for quite a long time. For those of you that have been listening to the podcast forever, sorry, I've had a adolescent issue on my nose, and it's scabbed, so I keep hemoglobin or whatever. Let's see, Aaron. Oh, thank you. I'm sure it's nothing compared to yours, though. I haven't seen yours recently. Like this kind of bothers me. This is a little bit longer than this is over here, so it bothers me. See, to be honest, I got tired of them saying I got an invite to the London premiere. I can understand that. So, whenever this kind of stuff happens, there's going to be a bit of that FOMO that's kind of coming out. Like those of us that just physically, it's not realistic to make it to London for the premiere. Also seems like it's a bit of a, I don't want to say secret location, but it's not something that they're advertising publicly that like, hey, everybody from this is going to be here, because everybody would swamp them even in London. So there's a little bit of FOMO for that, but the folks that are going to be there are so incredibly active in the community and so incredibly awesome with their content that we know we're going to get some great stuff out of it. We're going to get some incredible red carpet interviews, and we're going to get them by way of things like YouTube. There's going to be probably little podcast snippets here and there, and TikTok with Critter going. So massive shout out there to Critter, one of the kind of newer content creators that is going to be now going as a sponsored member to London for the premiere of the Wheel of Time TV show. Something I know that they never expected whenever they started making Wheel of Time TikToks. So I don't know too many people that don't know who Critter XD is. And if you don't know who Critter XD is, go over to TikTok, search up Critter XD, or go on YouTube and search up Critter XD, or Twitch Critter XD. And make sure you go and give some of her amazing video stuff some likes and some follows. So definitely make sure you do that. So let's see. I know I'm going to say your name wrong because I always do. And I can't just say like the epic Siri voice. Zion, I'm hoping I'm saying it even remotely close to right. I can't even like normally pronounce regular English, much less anything that's not direct regular English. But I'm so glad that you're able to hop in here and chat for a bit. So you're going to an early screening. Awesome. Which one? Which one are you going to? You can go regional. You don't have to like say exactly which one because that could be a little identifying. None very close to you, DK. Either 6 hours or so. Yeah. I tried to comment and get them to do one in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I was hoping for that. I was hoping, maybe I'd get super lucky and that, Notice Me Senpai would come through, but no such luck. No such luck. But all the ones that come out are going to be dope. I imagine there's probably going to be a bit of a kind of live thing, at least from the premiere, where they're showing live feeds of all the theaters like filling up, waiting to watch episodes 1 and 2. That is one thing I found curious. There were a lot of folks that were hosting it or going to it or whatever. They were like, "Oh, we can see episode 1 early, but it's episode 1 and 2." I think it's an honest misspeak rather than anything else. But in a world of the Wheel of Time where we all try to superimpose extra meanings on everything we see, everything becomes interesting. So let's see. Don't think they're doing a preview thing here in Australia. Well, word is that it's supposed to be spread out. I would imagine they're doing it in Australia. If not, Wheel of Time, if you get this in enough time, if I can get a passport within the next week, well, be more than happy to come and host one in Australia for you, even though I'm not Australian. Let's see. So, Denver. Awesome. I know Josh was talking about potentially going to Denver, and he's just kind of wrestling between going to Denver and going to LA if he goes to one of the pre-screenings, which is interesting because that means that 2 of the 3 members of the Black Tower podcast will have seen episodes 1 and 2, and then moi, it'll all be brand new, and then we'll get to see episode 3 all together because our fantastic kind of sponsor, the Crystal Barista, is flying myself and Daniel out to Ogden, Utah to watch the premiere of the show on the 19th with Josh. So it's pretty dope. Let's see. You watch Critter XD on YouTube but don't do any of the other social media stuff. Hey, that's perfectly fine. There's no harm in that. You watch Critter XD, that's all that matters. Fantastic content, some amazing cosplays. Did you see her Elaine cosplay for the Ren Fair that she went to? Gnome and Garden. Try to get on the screenings, had to make an account. You're on the wait list. Well, hopefully you get past the wait list and you make it onto the actual list and are able to go in and watch the screenings. If you can make it, I definitely hope that you can, and I encourage it. Now the TikTok says no one started a TikTok toe thing yet. Oh, that definitely needs to be a thing. If you haven't, Send that in a message to Critter. I would imagine if no one else can, Critter will get it going. Like, oh, that'd be so dope if you could see her like on the red carpet of the premiere in London playing tic-tac toe with cast members or with talent members, however you look at it. Let's see. Or Shoddy, what's going on, my dude? Saw part 2 posted today. I know you saw it. I don't even have to ask. I know you did. You nerd. You fantastic, lovely, beautiful nerd. Here's an extra meaning for your what you doing away. Yeah. Insomnia. I'm just not tired. I can't fall asleep. So steamed that you can't see the premiere. We'll have our own little premiere party. We'll have our own little premiere party. So I saw somebody else tweeted about anything around in the Salt Lake City, Utah area. So who knows? I do wonder how many people are getting tickets but have no intention of going. It seems inherently spiteful, which I both expect but also would hope would not happen with this community. But we've got some bad eggs in the dozen here, I guess. Let's see. I think that would be great. Agreed, Gnome. Agreed. It'd be dope. I can't imagine what Critter would do with it, but I could see it being incredibly awesome, like kind of like on the scope of IL humor, where maybe we don't all get it, but whatever. Thank you. The minute it was posted, because you're so sexy. Yeah. If nothing else, you can watch yourself in the part 2 and part 1 video of the trailer breakdown, guys. I got to sit down with Morshadi late one night. It was a Saturday night, if I recall, and I do recall. And we got to talk about everything about the trailer for about 2 to 3 hours. And then I got to edit it all in. It was a lot of fun. There's 2 parts up on YouTube, youtube.com/Black Tower Podcast. So I think a reasonably in-depth interview. So make some interesting statements, some interesting claims. I believe we see certain characters. We'll see. I thought of later after watching while editing our breakdown that maybe character that I thought was one was maybe actually another that is important for the series, at least in the first 3 books, but who knows? So even though you have a pass, that doesn't guarantee a seat, apparently. I mean, that's kind of a virtue of getting free passes, of free seats, that they don't necessarily guarantee that you're going to be able to be there physically and sit down. Hopefully they allow some kind of like standing room of some metric or another. Let's see. Winter's Lady going to New York City. Found 3 other people going to New York City so far, but we have no idea who else is going. Hope someone finds a way to organize fan meetups. If nothing else, especially in New York City, shouting out that you're a fan of the Black Tower will definitely get you some fan meetups, since blacktower.net is going to be the host for the New York City screening. So mad props to them. Congratulations, guys. We got to meet a couple of those folks at Jordan Con in 2020, or rather this current year, 2021. Fantastic folks, fantastic people. So I have no doubt that you'll enjoy yourselves in New York City with the folks from blacktower.net. Double Andrew engage. What? Are you like watching one of our other videos and it's one of the few times I'm actually talking rather than just sitting there staring at the screen or staring at the screen? Let's see. There were some claims that were edited too hot take for media. Yeah. So, Warshadi, fun fact, the hot take you had on, it was towards the end. Who was it on? It was on a specific character. Was it Perrin? There was one that I was like, I need to remember to release that as a separate, its own video hot take. I was trying to keep the video shorter, trying to find what I could cut. And I was like, this was a hot take that I could take out and release as something kind of in its own, as like a bit of a short or something like that. I know, Z, just remember to follow on Twitch as well. So watching on YouTube and Twitch at the moment. Oh, you're awesome. Thank you, man. Really appreciate that. Clay, If my local screening starts at 7, when would you recommend getting there to try and get a seat? I would say airport rules plus at least 30 to 45 minutes. So if you would normally get to an airport an hour early, I would recommend getting there an hour and a half to hour and 45 early, given that it's going to be where is the release party in Texas? Is it Houston? If it's in Houston, it being a major hub and a major population center, I would say get there at least 2 to 3 hours early. A lot of it also depends on how much you want to guarantee a slot. The earlier, the more guaranteed you are to get in, but you also stand around a lot longer. Oh, it's Austin, not Houston. Okay. Still kind of the same thing. So that's what I would recommend as an individual, just kind of thinking about it. Like, when would I get there? That's about it. No, Houston, sad face. I would say I agree, Tim, but I don't live near Houston, but I feel for you. Uh, my closest one is Atlanta, which I know is an 8-hour drive. Maybe Philadelphia is closer. Texans would disagree with that statement. I mean, I'm not saying that Austin is the same as Houston, but in terms of time management, you probably want to like wager about the same amount of time for whatever you're doing. So, did anybody get to watch Critter's announcement live? I know I did because it was after I got home from work and I didn't have to worry about the slow Wi-Fi at work. So, let's see. It's an hour and a half from your house. Hope to get there in time with a therapy appointment at 2 o'clock that day. Okay, so 2 o'clock. If you assume an hour to hour, let's assume an hour long therapy appointment. That means you're done at 3. It's at 7, and it's an hour and a half away. That means that if you're done at 3 and you leave straight from there, you can get there by 4:45 at the earliest. So that means you could get there at most let's say 2 hours before. That is probably the relative metric I would shoot for, but that's just me. So go to sleep. Good night. All right, Morshadi, have a good night. Thanks for hopping in. Sorry, I'm checking messages on the phone. My phone just told me the Black Tower podcast scheduled a live video. It's a little late. But yeah, so what surprised you potentially the most about the screenings and the premieres today? That's something I'm curious about. If anything did, what surprised you the most? And I don't mean like who was doing what. I mean like where it was or anything like that. Like places that were left out, places that were included, things of that nature. I'm not asking you to sit there and be like, I'm surprised content creator X or community member Y is hosting something. This is definitely not what I'm asking. So, if any of them surprised you, the glitch is saying it was full when it wasn't full. So, it seems like from the Wheel of Time account that they actually were full. That despite the Wheel of Time account and the writers' room and everybody being exposed to the craziness that is Twitter of Time for so long, they did not expect everything to fill up so fast as it did. So, that's crazy. Think your YouTube is slightly broken. Shows negative 5,000 comments on this video. I mean, that's got to be some kind of metric that helps the views, right? You got that in 5 minutes. Awesome. I mean, yeah. Let's see. I understand why the Midwest was left out, but made me sad. Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, there's always going to be a group of people that are sad that releases are happening near them. Growing up in Columbia, South Carolina, all the relatively near releases were always either Atlanta, Miami, or Raleigh, North Carolina. Now that about 5,000. I wish there were 5,000 comments on this. Probably got attacked by bots or something, and YouTube's about to shut the live stream down. Who the Hades knows? Let me refresh my page and see if it shows anything. It seems like something that bots would definitely start targeting anything with Wheel of Time in the name because it's going to be very popular and already is very popular. So, yeah. But now that I live 2.5 hours away from Raleigh, I was kind of surprised that there wasn't anything in Raleigh. I'm like, this is a very popular center for people. It's got an international airport, and that's generally kind of the metric I go off of to see like where I think things will be released. So we'll see. Going by Madison Square Garden rules for Madison Square Garden concert rules for New York City. If we're talking getting in line for a big city, be in line by noon. Yeah. The more population dense the area is, definitely the earlier you want to be in line to make that. So, um, like everybody else has done, I've very much echoed the whole like, don't spoil anything. If you feel the need to tweet or post about it, please include hashtag what show spoilers in it so that those of us that have it muted don't find ourselves spoiled. I know it's going to be hard enough for Daniel and Josh to not spoil episodes 1 and 2 for me and let me actually watch it for myself, but it is what it is. Let's see. Webcam spam bots hit the Leafcast and Dusty Will chat last 2 days. That's what they do. As things increase in popularity, the more things get attacked or targeted by any kind of spam bots. I mean, I used to stream way back in the day, never got to like a significant numerical following, even though my following was like the people that followed me were pretty dope on Twitch. But it was the same thing. Like getting bot spam was what it is. Let's see. By the way, love your channel. So glad BTP will be there. Keep us posted. Yeah. So Daniel has access or is going to be going to the LA screening, and I know Josh was talking about going to potentially the Denver or the LA screening. I'm not sure which. I can't tell you which he would be at, if either one. Imagine both are full now, so hopefully he already has a ticket. So hopefully he can be there. And if you wind up being in LA or Denver and you run into somebody from the Black Tower podcast, please do go and say hello. By all means, these guys love it. Let's see. Simon, you said, if I spoil anything, just know there'll be fake spoilers designed to wind up idiots. I would expect nothing less because you do such a great amount. Like the reaction video that I did for a certain no longer existing YouTube channel's video about the Wheel of Time and how they believed it would emasculate men. The comment that I appreciated the most was your comment that, but I'm sure the channel appreciates the metrics from the comments. And as soon as I read that, I was like, yeah, the channel definitely appreciates the metrics from the comments. Definitely appreciate the engagement. For sure. What if you actually want hot nudes? Go over to our OnlyFans site. OnlyTime/BTP revealsall.com. That's not how URLs work, but we're going to go with it. Let's see. DK, I'm happy for some content creators to see early to begin breakdown of it. Yeah. It's a good drink. It's amazing how much a little grenadine can change a drink. So we don't do a lot or haven't historically done a lot of show content. Like what's been released in the last month and a half-ish, through October and what we're into of November so far, it's probably the most show-specific content we've ever released, though we'll make comments about it within our episodes. It's crazy to keep up with, right? Whenever there's a new video, when there's a new teaser, when there's a new something every day, it's a metric of how do you keep up with it. And these sites, these Wheel of Time sites like Watt Series, these Wheel of Time shows like Dusty Wheel, like Talk Around Riyadh, like all these different showcasts that are able to keep up with it every single time. It just amazes me every time. Yes, Primitive Gentleman deleted his channel or closed his channel, because if you go to the reaction video and you click on the original video link, it tells you that the original video channel or original poster has closed their channel. So Wasn't my intent. I'm going to choose to hope that I didn't play a part in it because I am very publicly neutral about these kind of things. I would rather invite progressive and constructive discourse rather than ever anything to the sort of wanting somebody to close their channel. Um, 9LZ, in regards to the screenshot that I just saw of the comments, I think that the comments from another show's comment section have been superimposed in your YouTube onto this one. That's what I think. Because if this live stream, especially based off of the comments I see in the screenshot, have gotten any sort of the comments they have, people have been smoking a lot more than illicit substances. Well, I may have played a bit of a part in it. I am not subtle in my opinions. No regrets. I don't think you should regret. That was the thing. We wanted the comment section to have the discussion. I mean, there's a reason why at the end of the video I said that I invite the individual that was responsible for that channel to take and come and talk. I don't believe in criticizing channels or other content creators for content they put out, at least without inviting discourse. I think that anybody that just plainly criticizes what was put out and never invites somebody to talk about it is doing a disservice. I mean, from a content creator's perspective, at a minimum, you're missing out on potential content. You know, if you're already willing to make a reaction video or a response to something somebody else made and not have them on to talk about it, then why make the video in the first place, right? You're already putting it out there for public consumption, then why not sit there and be like, hey, you'll probably see this video. If you do, come and talk. We're more than welcome to it. And that individual, to my knowledge, decided they didn't want to talk. So, I mean, the goal was never to shut down anybody's channel or shut down anybody's video or get them a whole bunch of hate. It was to talk about what I felt was wrong about a video. Just as it is, being candid, being open, being honest. Do I want to get a synopsis of Play or Die? What is Play or Die, Clay? It sounds like Squid Game. Which was a good show. I enjoyed it. So we're entering some interesting time, honestly. We've got Jordan Con. So, well, in chronological order, we've got the Wheel of Time show premiering the first 3 episodes on the 19th and premiering an episode every Friday until the 24th. And then moving into the next year, presumably, I would think sometime February, March timeframe, we have season 2. Considering they're already filming it and confirming castings and that kind of stuff, I don't think they're going to expect us to wait a year for it. So I would hope that it's that early that we're getting it. I could definitely be wrong. But then come April, we've got Jordan Con back on its normal track of being an April event. And then following that in July, we have WatCon, which I'm super happy to have an event in my birth month. Like I was born July 15th. So super excited that not only do I get to participate in being at Jordan Con and helping, or not Jordan Con, sorry. I am excited that I get to participate in Jordan Con, but I'm excited that I get to participate in WatCon and be a part of helping WatCon become a thing. So that's pretty exciting because I know the stream we did with Nabless, he went ahead and said that I was the director of people, which is accurate. I am. So it's a weirdly awesome feeling of responsibility of it being a purely Wheel of Time oriented kind of convention in Ohio, and actually being a director for a segment of it. And I'm just like, to a lesser degree than like showing up for Amazon, but still no less an honor to be involved with it to the degree I am. So let's see. Play or Die is an escape room type movie in a psychiatric hospital, and the participants think it's all part of the game Paranoia. Sounds like a decently terrifying movie. Let's see. DK Moon, you think it's going to be at least a year? Hope to be wrong. I'd be interested. Why do you think it's going to be a year before we get season 2? Since New York Comic Con went ahead and confirmed our Elaine casting, and I'm still going to say forever. I now have 3 things that I believe, 2 pretty definite, or 2 that are definite, 1 that I believe still exists. The definite being me calling out Tam Sword whenever we got the kind of, they were leaks, so take it with a grain of salt. But the leak of seeing Tam Sword / Rand Sword, the Haramark blade, hanging off of a rack in Faldara or wherever it is from the show that we saw in a leak still. The other one that I know for sure is the fact that I believe I was the first one to call that Critter was going to the premiere and would be live streaming it to TikTok, which not only proved to be generally true, but completely true. And then the one that I kind of claim, because we'll have to see fully how it goes, is that there will be no Elaine, Galwin, or Galad in season 1 of the Wheel of Time TV show, and that instead we will get anything that happens in Camelin in season 2, maybe in a different area. So we'll see. Man, Ozzy, fingers crossed I can combine a U.S. vacation and WatCon. If you do a U.S. vacation, come to North Carolina. If it can't be during WatCon, we'll hang out. Why not? So, it sounds like a cute movie, Clay. Yeah, definitely a very cute movie. Aaron, WatCon will be in Columbus, right in your backyard. Super excited. Yep. So specifically Dublin, the hotel is specifically in Dublin, Ohio. For anybody looking for specifics, it's about a 20 to 30-minute ride from the international style airport there. So that's going to be super dope. More info to come out in the coming weeks for sure. Let's see. Maybe a little earlier next year, maybe September, October. I don't. What was the release timetable for the Game of Thrones TV show? Let's see. Not that I'm using that as like an equitable kind of metric, but it does provide us a sort of metric. So it looks like there was 1 season per year. April 17th, April 1st, March 31st, April, July 16th, and then April. I see. So I'm a little torn here with this. So with this year, like if they keep it to a yearly thing, where the next time we'll see when we'll see Wheel of Time season 2 isn't until November of 2022 or even October 2022. There's part of me that's like, okay, that's a good metric for keeping a TV series going on and people enjoying it and talking about it. And it gives content creators plenty of time to make content about it and kind of do like we have leading up to season 1, talking about how different season 1 may be and what things we may see included. Let them ramp up everything all over again. And, there's kind of an absence makes the heart grow fonder kind of anticipation thing there. I just hope that it's not that much of a spread. Like, if season 2 started in July of next year, I'd be pretty happy. Let's see. No Galwin in season 1. You're heartbroken. yeah. I'm sure we all are. My guess for season 2. Where'd it go? There it is. I guess for season 2 is September, a little less than a year. Just your guess, though. I mean, there's a good metric to indicate that you may be right about when shows in general come out. It just depends on how successful the Wheel of Time TV show is and what Amazon's metric for when they want to release stuff is. Do they want to capitalize on back-to-back kind of hype, or are they going to kind of rely on the fans and the community and things like WatCon and other conventions to keep propagating the hype so people stay excited throughout the year en masse? Let's see. Anywho, just technically I've been at work 3 minutes ago. Have a good one, guys. All right, non-LZ, thanks for stopping by. Have fun at work. I'll be joining you in 4-ish hours. Let's see. Your work right now. Don't let it stop you. All right, Aaron. We can't all be as cool as you are. Let's see. Probably didn't need it. I'd like to discover a movie first. Maybe I'll hit you up after I watch it, whenever that is. Fair enough. I think Lord of the Rings will be the annual September October slot, and they might get right into Watt in November December. Could be fair. Could be fair. I mean, Amazon is tossing a ton more money into Lord of the Rings as a TV show than it is into Wheel of Time, just because Lord of the Rings is more widely known, it's more popularly known. Everybody's heard of Lord of the Rings, whereas only half the people have heard about Wheel of Time until the show comes out. Then everybody will hear about Wheel of Time because you can't stop us. Jigsaw movies are decently cute movies. Interesting. Your skates are sharp. Ice skating? Like we prepared for the winter? So let's see. Not at all interested in Lord of the Rings show. I'd be lying if I said I was or wasn't. I'm fairly indifferent to it. If it's interesting to watch, if I can enjoy it, if it's a good placeholder between Wheel of Time coming out, then I'll probably watch it. It's kind of a 50-50. So that's one of the unique things that the Wheel of Time has, and the talent for the show and different producers and different, I don't want to say producers, but different kind of production members, I suppose, have pointed out that not many shows get the kind of following pre-production that the Wheel of Time has, because this series has been out forever. You have people that have sat around waiting 30 plus years for this to become a TV show, and they've already lived through the disappointment of the pilot that shall not be named. So there's kind of an inherent hype, but there's also the fact that as I'm sitting here talking to you, I don't see anybody's name in the chat that isn't already a member of the kind of online community about the Wheel of Time or are super interested in the Wheel of Time innately. So there may be a little bit of a kind of bias playing in there, but it's also been a series that has probably been worthy of a TV show since the early 2000s and is just now getting an honest, fair, and true adaptation. Not something where people just take generic descriptions of the scenes, butcher them, cast a kind of high class actor, and have them read dialogue directly from the prologue of Eye of the World. But I didn't say that here. Let's see. Let's see, Aaron. I'm good at not doing work or just skating along. It's something we used to say in the ring. Oh, okay, I got you. Let's see. I've not watched the Game of Thrones prequels that well as run dry. Yeah, they lost any interest I had after season 7. Like at least halfway through season 7. I finished it, but I'd be good without it. Let's see, definitely not watching Game of Thrones. Anything? Lukewarm here too. Wheel of Time is the life. See, apparently, first Lord of the Rings episode is supposed to air September 2nd, 2022. That's a full year after Wheel of Time. Wheel of Time will dominate the market by then, I believe. Lord of the Rings will be a thing in the past by the time the show comes out and everybody gets to enjoy it. I say a thing of the past. It'll be things that like the cult followings and the really diehard fans will still follow and watch. But as far as it being en masse, like the dominating kind of fantasy series on the screen, I think those days are numbered. And it appears that the number is November 19th. Let's see. Winter's later, your newish fan only read the books for the first time in 2018. Hey, but you read the books. That's all that matters. I'm happy that you're able to read the books. That's awesome. Let's see. Silver Bells Narishma. The difference in the Lord of the Rings and the Wheel of Time is the amount of material you can draw from the books, even with the Silmarillion, the Hobbit, and the Lord of the Rings. It's not close to the world building Robert Jordan did. I would agree. I don't really have a secure basis to agree because I've only ever watched the Lord of the Rings. I've never read the Lord of the Rings. There's a lot of stuff about Lord of the Rings that I found out from friends that I talked about with it, that they decided to like, hey, you know, so and so is actually this or that or whatever, and I'm kind of like, cool. That doesn't seem to play into the show, into the movies at all. That's also the thing too is, um, whenever it first came out that it was going to be a TV show instead of the movies, there was a fair number of people that were like, "How could it be a movie, or how could it be a TV show, not a movie? It's not going to do justice." I'm like, "Well, actually, a TV show is going to do far more justice than a movie would. You get breakdowns by season. You can dedicate more overall airtime and screen time to the events that happen in the books. It's one of those things like, what do you choose between a 3 hour movie or a TV show where each episode can be 45 to 75 minutes long, and you potentially have an entire season of, let's say, 8 episodes, 9 episodes that each are an hour long? You know, that's what, 540 minutes of content versus 180 minutes of content. It's easier to do other core material justice in a TV show than it is in a movie. Might be harder to keep the same actors together for it, but still does better. Still never seen the Lord of the Rings movies. Own the physical extended movie box set with 15 discs. What? Watch it. It's still a good thing to watch, and it does give you some insight into maybe where Robert Jordan drew some inspiration from, at least in Eye of the World, but watch it. TV shows today are better. 6 to 12 hours, much better than a 2 hour movie. Agreed. I would rather get a broken up section of a total of 7 to 9 hours of content, or 6 to 8 hours of content, than I would only get a 3 hour movie. Like, imagine if they were going to take books 1, 2, and 3 and contain all of what happens in books 1, 2, and 3. So we're talking Eye of the World, The Great Hunt, and The Dragon Reborn, and they're going to try to stuff it all into a 2 to 2.5 hour movie. I don't see it being possible. Not with doing true justice to the books. We'd be complaining about it the same way that I complain about, Harry Potter Sorcerer's Stone not showing him going through 100 wands, even though they already do the Pan the Black scene where they could have just easily put it in. Agree. Watch the movies, Clay. Do it now. Yeah, go ahead. You got from now until at least the 15th if you're going to the screening, which it seems like you are. So you got from now till through the 14th, supposedly, to watch the Lord of the Rings movie, so you can see how much better Wheel of Time is. Past TV shows just didn't have the budget of movies. That is also very true. If nothing else, Game of Thrones did a fantastic job at showing how a TV show could garner just as much, if not more, of a budget and income for a single entity than any movie could. So one of the things that people have to remember at the end of the day, when they're thinking about changes, when they're thinking about release schedules, and they're thinking about what creators did and didn't get to go to screenings and all that stuff, it's all done by Amazon and Sony. Amazon and Sony are companies. They are looking for profit margins. They have sections within them, like Sarah Nakamura and the writers team, that are very engaged in the community and very much care about the community, and they try to include that as much as they can. But at the end of the day, they also know that the only way Wheel of Time is going to be successful is if the movie is attractive to not just the Wheel of Time community on Twitter, but to fantasy fans in general, or people with Wheel of Time TV subscriptions, or rather Wheel of Time Prime Video subscriptions. Like, there's a metric there where it has to be successful overall, because if it's not, then they'll finish season 2 and that'll be all we get. And then all the people that hoped it would fail would be right. And that's not what we want. We want them to have the freedom to do the series justice and to do it right. So we kind of have to allow for that. We have to accept changes. You have to do as Brandon suggested. This is still the same relative events of the Wheel of Time, but just take it as a full turning of the wheel later. This is a full 7 ages later, because you just can't take what Robert Jordan conceptualized in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and look at it and expect everything you read in those books to be true still in 2021, regardless of what social climate you're in. So yeah. Watt cinematography looks more quality, looks movie quality. That's a comment that I could walk away and refill my drink on, but I'm only halfway done, so I don't need to refill my drink yet. But there was a comment that I needed for that. Hetsky fucking provided it. But yes, it does look movie quality. Everything about it looks movie quality. Every bit of it looks like it's a cut down section of a movie made to be in TV in a better way than like Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F or Battle of the Gods ever did. It's not a rehashing of a movie in a TV series. It's a TV series that could be its own standalone movie, for sure. They're doing an incredible job. Like these cast interviews, like one of the things that I find more like semantically hilarious because I'm arguing like semantics on it is that people are like, oh look, it's a new IGN interview. Like, no, this like everything we've seen in the IGN interviews have been from one interview they did. They just ask a bunch of questions to get the interview done in one day while everybody's sitting on set, presumably after, before, in the middle of shooting scenes, and then splice it in with the trailer. Like this has been something IGN and Amazon have planned on forever because IGN is a staple for like movie reviews and cast interviews and that kind of thing. Like a lot more of this stuff, I believe, is planned than people may realize at face value. Let's see, Scion. Can't imagine the Lord of the Rings show can really break any new ground in the fantasy genre. Fucking agree. It's limited by world building. Agreed. Which is by definition very rooted in older fantasy tropes Tolkien created. Agreed. Wheel of Time affords an opportunity to create some new world building elements to differently portray how fantasy works, at least in the American mediums and worldwide mediums. I mean, just by virtue of the cast and crew involved, the shooting locations, this is an international fantasy medium that has such an avenue and way to take and show everything. And there's things about the show that people are realizing just because of the trailer, like Faldara not being covered in snow, like the White Cloaks being absolutely horrendously terrifying people. We're talking people that you can liken onto Nazis, onto any oppressive and murderous genocidal regime, onto the KKK, all these kind of things. You can liken the White Cloaks whenever we meet them in the series too. And people are just now actually seeing it with the trailer coming out, and it's awesome. I'm loving it. I'm eating it all up like, I don't know, name a gluttonous king that's famous for it. Let them eat cake, and we're all eating cake, right? Let's see. Book reader need to be one of 1,000 viewers for show to continue. Go what? Is that the metric? Does somebody do the ratio or statistics for that? And it's like every out of every 1,000 readers, one needs to be a book reader, or one out of every 1,000 viewers needs to be a book reader for it to succeed. The way Silmarillion is written, it seems like there's plenty of room to use what's there and go their own way. That can be true of most fantasy books, depending on roughly when they're written. Tolkien definitely followed a metric of a successful template of fantasy and continued to propagate it throughout. And a lot of people just hopped on the coattails of success because trying new things is scary. Let's see. Well, it's Ut Brezowitz, and I know I butchered that spelling. Probably just butchered the pronunciation. So her DP must be amazing. Her work is known for great cinematography. Bet, for sure. Let's see. Hey, Dana. I'm sorry. There is no Dana. Only Zul. Hey, Zul. Thanks for popping in. How are things going on there deep in the heart of Texas, if you would? The cake is a lie. Yeah, the cake is always a lie. Just look at 2B, or what's her name from the... Who's the video game character, like one of the first measures that came out about her, that like for booty and jiggle physics, not jizzle figure, English, jizzle physics. I'm sure that's a metric amongst certain communities. But like there's more polygons in what makes up the animated section of a video game character's behind than there is in the entirety of Minecraft, which isn't really setting that high of a bar because it's Minecraft. Like 80% of its metric is 8-bit graphics, but it is what it is. Silver Bells Narishma. Let's see what you got to say here. When I started reading the books, and even by the end, there was no way anyone could have made this a quality TV series or trilogy movie franchise. Technology has given us this now. I don't know because I have fond memories of like the 90s and the early 2000s whenever I was a younger person watching stuff because I was born in 93. And the 80s movies I watched weren't terrible. I do remember the comically hilariously bad or badly orchestrated like practical effects for villains and Power Rangers, especially Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, but kind of is what it is. We're being a chat without having blue wrenches to hit people with. Oh, is that like a subtle like mod ask? I mean, if there were two people that right off the bat I had to trust with it, I mean, you've proven your mettle. Let's see. There's some female characters in Similarian, but you couldn't name them. Let's see. Part one of the extended Lord of the Rings inserted into PlayStation, ready to go. Hey, there you go. Not enough, but some. I would tend to agree that fantasy in general has omitted a lot of strong female characters with their own agency, which is part of what I love about the Wheel of Time. People like to say it takes the patriarchal society and flips it over into a matriarchal society. In book one, two, maybe three, it's kind of true, but it more so gives a more balanced society where you have a closer to 50-50 metric across the world of male to female leaders. You have a good spreading of male leaders that are terrible and male leaders that are good, female leaders that are terrible, female leaders that are good. It's a more balanced spectrum, which is one of the things I love to see. What Rafe said in that the IGN interview today on, the who is the dragon and the dark one, kind of explanation without actually answering the question we all are asking, but kind of already know the answer to. I think, obviously, I don't know, but that every time Rafe talks about the Wheel of Time, any doubts I ever had about the series being good automatically disappear, and they weren't big doubts to begin with. Him recognizing the series is about balance, it's about harmony, it's about working together. Ultimately means that the series is still going to accomplish the same thing that the books try to in the words. The mechanisms may be a little different, the way we see it happen may be a little different, and that's fine. It should be. It is a 2021 adaptation of a book series conceptualized in the 70s and 80s and continuously refurbished in the author's mind. It should be different. So I can't wait to see it, and hopefully for the internet to stop arguing about every last potential thing that could or could not be in the series. That's what I'm wanting for, or that's what I'm waiting for. That's what I'm hoping for more than anything else. Let's see. Texas is a good place to be. So I've heard. I only spent 6 months in Texas, 8 months in Texas for Air Force training, and by the time I was done, I was ready to go. But it's because I was also stuck on a military base most of the time. So um, I don't need to be a mod here. I get that enough. I mean, I give people mod personally off of merit and what they do in the chat rather than just because I recognize your name. Not saying anybody else is anything different. That's just my metric here. And we don't do enough live streams to really need a bunch of mods yet. Though I'm kind of hoping that'll change. I did buy a stream deck, so had that for over a year now. Female characters are what really sets Wheel of Time apart, and it astonishes me that there are fans, I like the quote unquote fans. Let me throw this up on the screen here. Fans who seem to miss that aspect of the narrative altogether. I'm gonna refill my drink and let that sit on screen for a second because some people need to really soak that shit in. So keep reading Zion's comment there. Soak that in for a second. I'll be right back to talk about it. Deep in the heart, Texas. Deep in the heart, Texas. So yeah, people that read the series, they profess themselves to be fans of the series, and are completely disregarding of the fact of the metrics and the overall mechanisms by which men and women in the Wheel of Time series, and of course, for those of you that are non-binary or non-traditional gendered, or I'm really bad with the fucking overall PC terms for this, so you get what I mean. The Wheel of Time generally operates in a two-gender system, male-female. So that's what I'm going to refer to as whenever I talk about the Wheel of Time series, which has been identified as one of the things that potentially could be worked on in 2021. So people that focus only on, excuse me, that only focus on one aspect of gender or how the genders interact, and they don't genders, not the genders. I'm not worried about how Kylie Jenner interacts with Bruce or Caitlyn Jenner, depending on the year. Um, you're missing a lot of what the Wheel of Time has to offer, and you're focusing on the wrong things, in my opinion. So, did I listen to the two new Watt songs? I listened to part of one, and then I resumed editing and uploading and that kind of stuff. So, that was kind of where I fell off. But I'm going to listen to them tomorrow, if nothing else. I know I retweeted them. They wouldn't, and I found out they wouldn't release until the 5th, which is by Eastern time today. So, but I definitely should. Thank you for reminding me of that take. Let's see. Point was, this world and story cannot be told for anything less than 10 million per episode. The story is so epic they had to throw money at it or it would fail. I agree. Shut up and take my money. Oh, fucking Aaron, stop making me laugh. But Moraine is wearing pants. How could they do that? It's just pants. It's fucking pants. Like the amount of shit that people complain. I saw a really great tweet today where somebody said they could post a 2-second clip of the blue sky and people would argue about the shade of blue it is. And I'm like, you're right. And not from like a clever or enjoyable kind of like funny content creating thing. Like it would be people arguing about like people are arguing about things from the series when there's nothing to argue about yet. Nothing about what we have currently seen necessarily detracts from the actual book series. The biggest quote unquote detraction is an expanded role for Logain, which everybody that I know and have talked to and have heard of that have read the series wanted to learn and know more about Logain. Everybody's been like, I want to know or hear or see or read more about what happens off screen. And we're getting that. People are still bitching just for the sake of bitching. I never requested to be a mod. I'm not mean enough. Hey, with enough motivation, trust me, it happens. Being a mod is a pain in the ass. Let's see. Amen. That's what made me love the series from the start. Agreed, Silver Bells. I'm just Narishma. Agree, you can't do a wish.com version of Wheel of Time. Can you imagine whenever all the Wheel of Time oriented merch starts coming out on wish.com? Like, get your. It's going to be such a great insult. I bet you got your hair mark blade from wish.com. Oh, God. Fucking first age insults in a third age world. DK called you mean. Hey, so you can be mean, but every time I've seen it, it's been completely justified. So I don't really see much of the fan negativity. I'm not on Reddit, Facebook, Twitch. Yeah, that's if you want to avoid a lot of the negativity, just stay off of most social media. Just wait for things to release on YouTube or things to pop up in a Discord that you're in or something like that. Let's see. Zion, I'm the mean one. Dana's good cop. Yeah, you're like the undercover mean one there, Zion. I've seen your work. I've seen what you do. More gay storyline drags a bit, but so much respect for strength of will. It can drag a little bit. I can definitely see that and understand that. I feel that her storyline is broken up so much that it avoids the same kind of falling or failing that Filegate gets. which I'm just going to leave it at that to avoid having to throw up a spoiler banner and avoid spoiling anything for anybody that hasn't read past, book one. But it can be a bit much at times, but it's nothing compared to what happens later on. Let's see. I need to hear the Watt songs in context. They're not really resonating with me yet. I can understand that. Like some of what makes music resonate with you so much is the visual or the visuals associated with it. So like if you take Five Finger Death Punch's song "Wrong Side of Heaven" and the Righteous Side, or I'm on the wrong side of heaven, righteous side of hell. I think it's just called "Wrong Side of Heaven." The song itself resonates with me enough, but then I watched the music video and I went from "this is a cool song" to "I can't watch it without crying." So visuals maketh the emotion. I don't know. Can't say make it the man, but you get what I mean. You get what I'm trying to play on. Love the suspenders though. I do too. Like it almost seems like a bit of fantastic validation for all the people speculating that she was wearing pants and a shirt or a blouse or whatever you want to call it and a jacket over it. I did love seeing that it looked like the leather kind of pauldrons seemed to just be when she threw it on, kind of included to it. I could be remembering the clip wrong. By all means, feel free to correct me. I welcome being told that I'm wrong because I'd rather be told that I'm wrong than blissfully ignorant of me being wrong. But I love seeing that. I love seeing the idea that because it all plays into the idea that the Aes Sedai are not invincible. They are vulnerable. They're not indestructible. And that is very much something that the series tries to teach people, tries to convey to people, and it might be harder to do via the words of the Wheel of Time series than it is to show it on screen, much like we get with the unfortunate burning Aes Sedai or Tinker or whatever she may wind up being. So, let's see. Narishma, I married my wife 3 years before I started reading these books, and I swear it was like my wife would be so an Aes Sedai, if not the Emerald Seat. Strong women make the best parts. I thought that was initially going to be a comment on how she can tell you something but mean something completely different. But in the end, it was just, nah, she's one of the best parts of my life. It was a very wholesome ending. Suspenders got me thirsty. Oh, that's going to be a new category on one of the hubs, isn't it? Oh, Aes Sedai suspenders. Ooh. I think it's cool. I like it, and it adds credence because you see her slide her dagger into a sheath, and she's carrying stuff. It makes sense. Um, Marine suspenders were clearly added to create suspend. I really read the whole comment. Oh, and the computer speakers aren't set to the right thing. Why do I always do this? Why am I the way I am? They are set to the right thing, but voice mod probably isn't. Shame on me. Let's see. Think you find interest in Lady Gaga's new movie, House of Gucci. It's based on a true story. Okay. First one, try riding a horse without a tight belt or suspenders. You'll understand. Well, I've never ridden a horse with anything, so I have no idea. But I would imagine things work their way down, if I had to guess. On a more serious subject, oh, this is such a good question. Why are you crying, Lan? Why are you crying? My original theory for why Lan is crying got completely destroyed. I thought that when we see Kareem Nagashi get blasted back in the original teaser trailer and in the Logain trailer, when she gets blasted back into the stone column, I thought that was Kareem Nagashi dying. But then the trailer came out and we see her stand up. So it seems indicative that she doesn't die in that instance. So my original theory was uh, that Steppen, being Kareen's warder, went into a rage, and they both wound up dying, and that Lan was actually a close friend of Steppen. Um, and my theory was that part of the grief was that he expresses is Moraine's closeness to Kareen as a fellow Aes Sedai, and that the other half of what actually causes him to break and show emotion is his closeness to Steppen. That idea was obviously destroyed. So they're wearing white and crying just made. I'm not reading it out because I'm trying to be spoiler free. I'm trying to be. Y'all can comment whatever you want by all means, which is weird for the Black Tower podcast to try to be spoiler free. So, excuse me. Maybe it's his friend from New Spring who. Okay. So if it happens to books 1, 2, or 3, I'm not going to necessarily consider it spoiler for this because I also kind of figure that it's predominantly already fans of the book series that are watching this kind of content, especially us, because we're freaking nobody. Even though I haven't read New Spring, but we all know that, and I've borderline been threatened to not read New Spring just to keep the meme going. But I do know that white is the official mourning color, MOURNING, for the Westlands. So there are things about New Spring that I know, and plenty that I don't know that I know that I know. So, my initial thought was that perhaps it was the individual that takes Lan out of Malkir in New Spring, or that we learn about in New Spring. Oh, what was his name? I posted it before, and then somebody pointed out how I was wrong. Let's see. Oops, almost done with book 3. Should I leave? No, I think you're fine. Like, nothing we're gonna say is necessarily gonna spoil that. Let's see. What was I can't remember what their name was, but Bukama. Yeah, you're right, Zul. That's exactly it, Bukama. But someone pointed out on Twitter where I was wrong. I think there'll be a ton of New Spring in the beginning part of season 1. I think it'll be flashbacks throughout as they discover things about the world. Like, I don't think what we see of Blood Snow happens until, like, somewhere between episode 3 and episode 6. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on it. Unless I'm right, then quote me on it. But well, that puts paid to that theory. What theory, Aaron? Let's see. I think it's flashback New Spring where someone close to him died. Yeah. So there was that. But somebody on Twitter, and I don't remember the conversation, and there's been so many tweets, there's no hope of me going back and looking through it. Somebody was like, here's how it doesn't work, because of how things go through. Yeah, you should be fine through book 3. Looks like the mourning is to help develop the nature of the water bond. I would tend to agree with DK on this more than most other theories. And I say most because I haven't seen all the theories. We know we'll see Suwon's childhood, so I think they'll have flashbacks that weren't in the books at all. Agreed. Some world building stuff that helps expand the world, which brings in the interesting question of how can I say this without spoiling stuff later on? So we see the Suwon Sanchi, the Amerlin, with tattoos on her chest in the Amerlin's dress, what seems to be a formal kind of ceremonial dress for like official Hall of the Tower shit serious meetings. So does she have those when she's a child and it becomes a familial thing, or does she get those later on? Because if they're a familial thing, it has to happen when she's really young, given the fact of how young she is when she goes to the tower. How do I think they'll work loose LTT, Loose Air and Telemon, Ken Slayer, the original dragon, into season 1? My simple answer is they don't. My simple answer is they don't. Loose Air and Telemon, it does not exist in season 1, even though he's cast. That's my simple answer. Do I have a backing for that answer? Not at all. They're going to show the effect of the water bond through land and moraine. I understand it because we read it, but it's hard. Yeah. So that's one of the big things is they're going to have to translate a lot of stuff that we see through reading inside of characters' heads into the screen. I say we know they cast Loose there, and they reportedly have cast Loose there. Because there's an article that features one of John's videos. It kind of talks about it from multiple reliable sources. Oh, the hiccups. They suck. And I'm trying to look through it to see who they thought it was. Alexander Kalim. I am not propagating this theory. I am just seeing what other sites have written that is from CBR. And I don't remember seeing the face of Alexander Kalim. I don't think it's the one that I just looked at. I think like that defaults to it almost looks like a politician's photo, but I don't know. See, ear rubbing, it could be take. I think the other Tyrion sisters in the tower, she could get tattoos at any point. I think they're encouraged to keep her individual cultural identity, as I said. I would agree with that. I would think that they are encouraged to still be individuals, that they're very much encouraged to maintain ties to their roots. Anything that keeps enough of an emotional bond that ties them to the world enough to learn to channel and be a strong channeler. I think that there are parts of the Tyrian seafaring culture that adopt elements of other cultures much in the same way that World War II U.S. Navy sailors adopted the kind of tattoos and the kind of what we see as pinup designs for tattoos and that kind of stuff, that kind of art style. I could very much see that happening. Was the casting for season 1 or 2 for LTT? I think it's rumored for season 2 because the article that I see from CBR talks about it was written in like September. That is far too recently for it to be season 1. It's definitely at earliest season 2 if we believe the CBR.com report. Again, it's a rumored casting. It's not a confirmed casting. And of course, John does his video about it, talking about LTT. But we'll see. Go over to What Up on YouTube and look for the Wheel of Time Loose There and Casting leak if you're interested in leaks. If you're not interested in leaks or spoilers of that nature, then don't go watch it. Find another one of John's videos to watch. So, but it very much could start off as like subtle nods to kind of madness or things of that nature. Or just Rand acting differently. That's really all it takes to make it believable that there's another person living inside of his head, or a reincarnation of Lucifer and Telemon. Of course, is all presumpted off of the books where we know who the Dragon Reborn is. How excited are we that they actually made the White Cloaks a serious threat instead of a joke? I love the direction they're taking. So I agree with you on the direction they're taking. Where I differ is I have always believed that the White Cloaks were a serious threat. I just believe that where the text falls short is that they only tell us about what the White Cloaks have done in passing, versus us seeing any of the horrors of what the White Cloaks actually do. Um, I liken it onto comparing World War One and World War Two battlefields to Vietnam battlefields. Vietnam, most people were horrified by it and spoke out against it because it was the first time that the general populace, that the populace defended by the military or that supported the military or whatever, was forced or allowed to even see the visual and direct horrors of war. And so there was a massive outcry against the Vietnam War. And I think this is part of what kind of plays into maybe how Robert Jordan portrays the White Cloaks. And it's probably something that we'll talk about more in the Vets Discuss series for sure. Probably not this Friday, though we may, but we'll see. The history of the White Cloaks is very, very troubling. It's very barbaric. It's very gruesome. It's very Salem witch trials meets Nazi meets KKK meets just morally abhorrent group, getting progressively worse until they become what we see in the books. I mean, the White Cloaks became a militant faction in 11 FY, 11 FY. So well before the series starts, it was 306 or 309 of the current era in the books of 306 or 309 NE that they strung up and hung an Amerlin Seat, who, yes, was already dead, but you know, how terrible of a group do you have to be to go ahead and grab a body and string it up in the streets? I mean, that's straight out of like a British traditional anti-piratism kind of behavior. The British did the same thing to rebellions all across their colonial empire in the 14 and 15 and 16 and 17 and 1800s. I mean, this is a very common practice where they would kill somebody and they would still string up their body as a display for everybody else, like, hey, you better not do this. And the White Cloaks are just as equally terrifying. I mean, they are to some degree a colonializing power in the series. Once you realize kind of where their power base is and how they've come about it, and I'm not really going to try to say too much about that, but the White Cloaks in mass as an entity, as a group, in regards to the general populace of the Wheel of Time series, even in the books, should be terrifying. It's just that the ones that we see that try to do things other than Joffrey Bornhold are portrayed as this bumbling, ineffective group. And when in reality, the entire group really actually isn't that ineffective. They rule by fear, they rule by chaos, they rule by intimidation. And they're actually historically very, very, very successful and effective at it. So that's one of the things that I know I tweeted about, and it started a whole conversation. I'm just like, they talk about this in the books, but you don't have to see it happen. So it's very easy to kind of pass over or ignore or, not realize. So I don't blame anybody that doesn't see it. And I'm not saying that the way I see it is the only way to see it, but I believe it is a facet of the books. But I also believe that it takes a lot more than just going through the words in each line on the books to understand the series. That it's meant to be read and contemplated and talked about and discussed. That's why we still have unanswered questions from the Wheel of Time series. But I'm very excited to see they're very much making them a threat right off the bat. I'm also very excited to see them making Eamon Valda a character that you're going to see in season 1. Because if there ever is a hope for the White Cloaks ever eventually serving the purpose they claim to serve, you're going to need to start their retribution way earlier in the TV series than you are in the books, because they're no longer bumbling fools. They're no longer, their evils and atrocities are no longer out of sight, out of mind. So it's going to take a lot longer to not only portray them as better or being any better if they ever decide to serve the light, but you're going to have to take a lot more time to convince an audience that there's any kind of true turnaround if they ever do actually turn around or get any better. Let's see. they have a good explanation for how the White Cloaks managed to capture an Aes Sedai. There are tons of really good explanations as to how the White Cloaks would capture an Aes Sedai. So since 1111 FY, they've been riding on the coattails of Otter Hawkwing, who Otter Hawkwing vehemently hated Aes Sedai to the point to where when he was ill on his deathbed and could have been healed and saved, he refused Aes Sedai assistance because they've been laying siege to Tar-Valon and restricting Tar-Valon to the physical boundaries that we see when the book series starts way back in the day. The White Cloaks are kind of capitalizing off of this kind of anti-witch, anti-magic kind of sentiment and trying to ride the coattails of some of Otter Hawkwing's success to very, in that aspect, a very ineffectual way. So that means that since 1111 FY, they have been trying to find and discern and discover and orchestrate and create ways into which they could defeat an Aes Sedai. And there are many ways to do so. If you can over fatigue an Aes Sedai, you can take them out. If you can knock them out, you can take control of them. There are certain substances, just like in our own world, that if you feed somebody, they will be ineffectual, they will fall unconscious, things of that nature. That I find it hard to believe that the White Cloaks, given their many centuries of being anti-Aes Sedai, aren't aware of in the slightest. So I think it's rational that they could have. Now, whether or not they should have, definitely don't think they should have. But we'll see to what degree they use that in the show. I think we'll get answers to some of that a bit earlier than we may expect. I agree. I think I meant that the White Cloak storyline wasn't important until yep. It should be just as you said. They should be a force from the start. I think I would agree. If you want them to be an actual legitimate part of the story and a legitimate threat, then you can't show them as people often interpret them from the books as bumbling fools that fail everything they ever try to do. See, 1,000 White Cloaks roll upon an Aes Sedai. She may zap 60, but the other 40 still get her. That's also very true. Killing 60 men as a single Aes Sedai, even with a warder, still would be exhausting, especially the way they're portraying Aes Sedai, I think, based off of how we see it in the trailer. Other than the Trollocs fall, that was my favorite part of the trailer. I geeked out over Loghain and the Galdean dagger more than probably most of the rest of the series or most of the trailer. But we'll see, because I can't wait to see Loghain's expanded role. Do I think they would introduce Forkroot this early? I think they would. If they're trying to ascertain or show people that Aes Sedai aren't all powerful, that they are powerful, but not all powerful. They're not invulnerable, that there are still vulnerabilities to them, that the White Cloaks possess the tools to be a legitimate threat. I think they do. And I think if they don't, and they don't go with the fatigue too much, the channel metric, that all they're left with is, if they don't go with the fatigue metric, and if they don't go with the Forkroot metric, then all they're left with is the propping up false Aes Sedai to be burned. Like, that could be honestly, from what we've seen in the trailer, that could be a completely innocent village woman that is burned at the stake, dressed as a yellow Aja member that a Mavalda is using for political or public gain. It's not that hard to forge an Aes Sedai ring and find a gem that matches the Aja that you're dressing up somebody as. So, yes, this is live, Andrew. How you doing, my friend? How is the Sweden? I don't know why I just threw that accent on there. I apologize. But yeah, I think it's either the fatigue metric, the overwhelming metric, or the Forkroot metric if it is an Aes Sedai. If it's not an Aes Sedai, I don't think it's anywhere nearly outside the realm of possibility or the MO of the White Cloaks to dress up a random village person who said, no, you have to pay me 6 silver instead of 5 silver for these apples. And they said, oh, 6 silver? You're a dark friend. Come with us. That's literally how evil they are, how misguided and in their own heads and devices that they are. And it's to not to be rude, but it is amazing to me how many people miss that. But it seems like that's just not the way that everybody reads the White Cloaks, and it's the way I read the White Cloaks. Sweden is in full autumn, gray clouds, and naked trees. I would have it no other way. It sounds nice. It's actually been a lot cooler here in the southeastern United States. Like, I haven't had to turn on the heat in my apartment or the air conditioning in my apartment in like 4 days because it's been like anywhere between 70 and like 66 degrees in the apartment. So, but yeah. And it's not to the same degree that I just talked about it, but we did touch on the White Cloaks and kind of like maybe what their role is and how things work in, I think, part 2 of the trailer breakdown that I did with Morshadi. But it's there. So you could see that if you wanted to on the YouTubes. Hashtag shameless promo. Snow this week in Ohio? Go fuck yourself. I haven't seen snow since I was a child living in the Southeast. I'm almost convinced that snow is a myth. You could do without the gray clouds, though. Oh, would you prefer like a different color clouds? Like, what if they were like fuchsia clouds or purple clouds? Or is that like a sign of the end times or something? Who knows? Or maybe just no clouds and you want the sun. Let's see. It's not nice. You'd love some 100-degree warmth at this moment. Andrew, you and I can trade fucking living states or countries. I prefer the cold. You seem to prefer the heat. You can live here. I'll live there. But you'll still have to do music, and I'll still have to do Black Tower podcast because you and I both know I can't sing to save my life. Richmond, could they use this to introduce Fork Group because they don't plan on bringing in the Sean Chan? Would we all protest? So that can be interesting. Because to me, the most impactful use of Fork Root isn't from the Sean Chan. It's from the quote unquote village wisdom that I was about to go into spoilers. I can't do that. Or I'm trying not to do that. I think they could use it to introduce Fork Root, which in itself is kind of a bit of a spoiler, but if you don't know what it is, it doesn't mean anything to you, other than maybe it affects Aes Sedai or people. But who knows? But I think they could. I would, because I consider the Sean Chan so crucial for a Gawain's character development, and because the crucial part they play for some other characters later on, I would slightly, although not vehemently, protest the Sean Chan not being included in the series. Though I do pray they don't have Southern or Texas accents. Got snow in Colorado, but think Andrew has you beat in that department. I wouldn't doubt it. Got to run, catch you later. Thanks, Hedsky. Thanks for stopping in and hanging out and chatting with us about all things Wheel of Time. Travelers speak of snow lies. Hey, now I'd love to hear you do the rap track I recorded yesterday. I would probably be absolutely horrendous at it. Fork Root sounds like something a wisdom would use. Interesting. I may be wrong, but I think she introduced Fork Root to the Sean Chan. You may be right. I don't know. Morshadi's probably not awake to ask as our official unofficial fact checker. What no Grom? That'll be interesting to see how that works. Just depends on how much of books 1, 2, and 3 they cover, and to what depth they cover them in, and if the mechanisms that allow us to see them even still exist, or if that's been cut because it only serves a very specific purpose for a very specifically short amount of time. So I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, not that like I would know any other parts of it, but It's a good question to ask. I'm going to mull it over while I refill my drink once again. Mainly with ice, because I've run out of ice. It has melted. Oh, all right. My room is on. Oh, shut up, Andrew. I like actually got a little bit concerned. I was like looking around, like what? Oh, I mean, keep like singing, but otherwise, don't scare me like that. Um, the roof, the roof is on fire. Let that mother burn. The rest of my year, Texas accents are boring. The Sean Chan accents would be more Alabama, Mississippi accents, in my opinion. Andy from The Office actually does a great version. Interesting. Do I think we'll see Egwene being collared or the heart of the stone in the show? I think we will see both in the show. I am unsure / doubtful that we will see the heart of the stone in season 1. What people don't get is there's a difference between drawl and twang. Definitely. Lopar, Grom, they could cut some of those exotic creatures. There'll be lots of CGI that aren't crucial to the narrative. I would agree. If you had to cut some CGI creatures somewhere, I would say cut the Grom and the Lopar. For reasons I can't discuss because I'm trying to be a good boy and be on Santa's I didn't spoil everybody list. So I guess we see some of the Sean Chan that episode. So here's my thought. All right, for people that have read at least through the end of the Great Hunt, you'll know. For people that haven't, tune out now until I stop looking crazy, which is never. So I think that by the end of season 1, we see after credit scenes kind of like Marvel. And it kind of goes some super cut to black scenes where we see people in armor that seems to have like insect qualities running through a city, like a coastal city or town that we know as Falma. And I hope that the end of the entire series is just the sound of a horn. And then you see pulled up on like a medieval Renaissance style pole, the dragon banner. That's what I hope. But we'll see. Let's see. I think we might see Kalendor / the Stone of Tyr in relation to either Suon's backstory or Logain's quest. So here's the thing that's making a lot of stuff hard to predict is how hard the show is leading into the we don't know who the dragon is. Now, it may be a non-point, but it may also be an interesting point that in the clip that IGN released today / the 4th of November, talking about who is the dragon and the dark one, that Joshua Stradowski didn't speak except for maybe 15 to 20 seconds at the very end of the interviews. It could be because he couldn't stop saying certain words that would indicate who the dragon is. It could be because they're intentionally misleading us. It could have been just the way IGN edited it together. The only thing that's concrete is that Barney Harris didn't get to talk in that at all. So we'll see. The Kingdom of Tears on the interactive map. So I think that's a pretty good indicator that we at least see Tyr in season 1, but we'll see. This is a fairly popular theory that I don't necessarily disagree with. I think they're going to use Logain to show, don't tell a lot of the stuff we need to know about the Dragon Reborn story points. I think the same, but probably more so focused on Sidene rather than the dragon. But it could be both. I am by no stretch of the imagination saying that you are wrong. Seeing the dragon being reborn / proclaimed is a must for the show at some point, and isn't it obvious who the dragon is for us that have read the content? I mean, for us that have read the content, if we go off the presumption of book content, yes, it's obvious. I've seen a lot of fallacious, is that the right word? Full of wrongness arguments. I've seen people argue that the Corinthian cycle never mentions that the dragon is male, which is erroneous. That is wrong based off of the translations we see in the book. We never get access to the original text, so it could be different. So there's a metric to be argued there. Banners of the Spear made a good argument in the video they did about gender and the dragon, talking about everything in the books is based off of a bi-gendered system, male female, whereas now it's being adapted to 2021 where the spectrum of gender is much more broad, much less black and white of male and female. So I feel like I watched waiting for one of the cast members to say he or them, and I just glossed over, I guess, Daniel Henney saying it. Who knows? I don't think they've changed who the dragon is. I think that would cause more changes to the story than is reasonable for them to make, honestly. I don't agree with the statements that the dragon can't go mad, because I think the madness... Hold on, let me pull up the thing here. All right, full spoiler. If you have not finished the entire Wheel of Time series, this is the point in this live stream at which you should probably stop listening. This is your one and only warning. If you are still listening by the time I finish this warning and you are spoiled, it is your fault, not mine. I am sorry. You can listen to the first hour and 42 minutes spoiler free. Yeah. And if you fast forward and you see the full spoiler warning over here on the side disappear, then you're free to listen. But I'll keep the full spoiler warning up as long as it's going to be spoiler. So if you have not finished the entire series, again, last warning, leave now or you will be spoiled. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, so what was I talking about? Yeah, so I kept watching to see if anybody in the cast said anything about the dragon being a he. Because again, people keep making... There are people that make really good arguments for the dragon not being male or not necessarily having to be male. And there are arguments that people make that are just absolutely erroneous if we take the source material as the truth. As if we assume that the TV show is going to try to stay as close to the book material as possible. So I've only finished the series 48 times. Should I leave? Yeah, because that's only 44-ish more times than I have. So you should definitely leave, because I definitely know more about it than you. It's a joke. Nobody get fucking up in arms because I said I know more about the show than Andrew. I just want to make sure I'm caught up here on chat. Xana, the dragon was known to be a man. The dragon reborn, on the other hand, agree to the first part. I'm a little iffy on the second part, and I'll explain why here in a second. I'm not just another white guy saying he's a man because I want the most powerful person in the series to be a man. I really don't give a shit based off of who the gender is, but thank you for the reminder to let new readers develop their own theories. I appreciate that sign. I fully agree. Because the first time I read Eye of the World, I had no fucking clue. I had indications and ideas, but I didn't have a clue. And I think that's more of what the TV show is going for than anything else. So, I have seen arguments where they claim that the Corinthian cycle never expressly states that the dragon reborn is a male. The Corinthian cycle uses in a bi-gender system, meaning two genders, male female system. It uses masculine pronouns for every instance of its reference to the dragon reborn. If it was once or twice, I would give credence to the idea because it is every time. I think that the Corinthian cycle assumes that the dragon reborn is a male. Now, there is a female counterpart, and I always forget the name. So I'm going to keep talking in these weird tones while I Google the reborn female from the Wheel of Time. I know it starts with A, and I know it's not Amaterasu. Jesus Christ, what is her name? I know somebody in the chat knows exactly what I'm talking about because I've seen it 1,001 times on Twitter. And everything, of course, I search on Google, so it wants to say Erengar. Somebody knows what I'm talking about. It's like AME. The natural counterpoint of a dragon is a phoenix. Oh, what is the name? Marisu. That's what I'm thinking of. Yep, Ben, you got it. Good was Ben. You're the first one that put it in the chat, unless I'm blind, which is definitely possible. Angel, I wouldn't bet on memory being the metric for me knowing more or less than you because I have a terrible, at least short-term memory because that's a symptom of conditions. Fucking, when you're depressed, your fucking short-term memory is. Marasu is the female champion of the light that fights against the dark one. So, let's see what. Trying to search. I know I missed some stuff. You're probably fine. I'm sure they won't change who the Dragon Reborn is, but they can tweak the lore a bit to keep it somewhat up to air for a few episodes at least. Completely agree. In Australia, it's a national pastime. So yeah, it's almost said like Amaresu. It's Amaresu, and that is the female champion of the light against the dark one. It is the counterpart to the dragon in ages where the pattern requires a female savior. She is not reborn in every age. The late third age began an era which she remained in Teleron Riyadh, according to what.fandom.com. So that might be why you remember so bad. Yeah, so for those of you that don't know, one of the symptoms or side effects of any kind of depressive disorder or being depressed is issues with short-term memory. So keep that in mind. It is kind of sadly hilarious that the name is almost Amarisu, but that's why Egwene is not a Mary Sue character. I going to guess. I don't know. But she fights with the Sword of the Sun, which glows in her hands, which could potentially indicate Kalendor being wielded by a female because we're full spoiler here. So if you've just joined and you haven't finished all 14 books plus the prequel and the Big White Book of Bad Art and the Wheel of Time Companion and everything else, tune out and go watch the first hour and 42 minutes. Saying that she wields a Sword of the Sun seems to indicate a consistently channeling or constantly channeling female channeler wielding Kalendor. Given the fact that it always shines, it is a sword that is not a sword, and that it shines brightly as the sun. Brand often describes it as such, or other onlookers describe it as such. So it seems like, honestly, Kalendor might be more bound to fighting off the Dark One than any individual, soul is. There's your hot take. Kalendor is more important to the fight against the Dark One than any individual soul could ever be. I'm going to say it here and now because why not? I don't know. What do you guys think? I do like how they kind of expounded on the idea of the Dragon Reborn. Um, so technically, from book lore, if the dragon is reborn, it has to be a male. If it is a female champion that is born, it is a Marasu. But we'll see. Or she found a lightsaber. Don't you dare! Do you not dare, DK Moon, turn the female version of the Dragon Reborn into goddamn Rey Skywalker. Don't you fucking dare. Road to Turfline, what's going on? Good morning. How are you doing? I hope this beard finds you nicely. How are you doing? I cannot sleep, so it is still good night for me. That's why I'm up after 2 hours of talking on YouTube, spouting random Wheel of Time bullshit nonsense. By the way, if any content creator or anybody else even finds this video and you've watched this for 2 hours or fast forwarded to 2 hours and you're like, I think he's wrong about everything, and you want to do a reaction video to this, you have full 100% use license of 100% of this live stream video. So do as you like. All I ask is that hopefully by the end of it, you plug blacktowerpod.com and you invite us or at least me to have a discussion. So, but by all means, do your reaction. Let's see. It's been a very good stream. Oh, thank you. That wasn't my I'm ending stream because I'm still not tired, which is bad because I go to work in 3 hours. So at the worst, in 3 hours, I got to get off of here so I can go to work because my boss is out because she shut down the baby maker factory and is out of work for a couple days. But you don't know who my boss is, so she doesn't care that I say that. She's pretty chill. I love my boss. My boss is awesome. Anyway, let's see. Sleep. What is that? Mariah Carey don't know. Mariah Carey don't know her gift. I love it. Ben Butler. Let's see. Excalibur is given to Arthur by the Lady of the Lake with Marilyn on a boat. That's Rand naive. Okay, so we're going parallels to what the characters could mean to our worldly mythology. I love it. I love modern world mythos brought into the Wheel of Time, or Wheel of Time translated to modern world mythos, because if you delve enough into any other cultures, you can find so many mythos and religious inspirations for so many of the characters. We did an episode talking about religious inspiration for characters, and we bounced all the way from Hinduism to Buddhism to the ancient Egyptian pantheon of gods and goddesses. It's at some point you have to wonder how much of this did Robert Jordan and Brandon Sanderson actually consider, and how much of this just fits the narrative. It's not that anybody's right because we'll never know, but if you're looking for a god that loses an eye and gains wisdom, spoiler warning, there's a lot more than just Odin. So beware of that. And of course, there's the massive Arthurian legends that play into this. There's the massive Viking mythos that play into the Wheel of Time. I mean, those are very popular mythos and legends that play into it. Tagay says, doesn't Lanford debunk that theory in book 4 when she says Kalendor can only be wielded by a man? You're probably right, and I'm probably talking out of my ass, but let's see. Yeah, Kalendor is a male sangreal. Maybe there's a counterpart that's female only. I think you're actually right. Yeah. Though most of the information we get about what things are through unreliable narrators. So there is a chance that in an age where Amarasu is born instead of the Dragon Reborn, the Kalendor still exists, and by virtue of the soul that's born is who Kalendor is usable by. That could be an idea. I kind of like that idea. That whoever the pattern needs to be able to use Kalendor is who Kalendor can be used by. Could be an interesting idea. I doubt. Let's see. Well, I doubt Lanfear would let go of an Ongriel as powerful as Kalendor. Well, she also let go of both of the Cotton and Sora keys, so I don't. Lanfear is in the name of love. I mean, more of your crazy, ex-girlfriend, but I could see her giving up control of that kind of stuff just to use it as a bargaining chip to then sway. Like, she never once tried to take possession of the Horn of Valir, which means she either knew that the Shadow, quote unquote, could not blow it, which they actually could. However, the Heroes of the Horn have enough agency to decide whether they're going to follow them or not. Or she didn't care or didn't realize what it was. But she obviously realized what it was because she was like, blow it. I think a lot of that comes to unreliable narrator. We'll see. Sarah Graham, I can't sleep here either after 4 a.m. here. Also, have to work soon. I forgot about Amarasu. I honestly did too until I watched Maidens of the Spirit video today, and I was like, oh, that's right. Amarasu is a thing or a person or an individual. You get what I mean. It exists. They exist, potentially in the spinning of the Wheel of Time. So we'll see. Let's see. Andrew, you work in a baby making factory? What the hell has happened to us? Is this the Handmaid's Tale? No, I work a government job, which the government could also be considered a baby making factory because they need people to rule to be a government. Yeah. That's a completely different conversation. Tagain knows the flaws. Let's see. Roadstar Valen. For all the knowledge in his head, it's almost like Robert Jordan lived 1,000 lives. He was, I believe, I think Robert Jordan was a nuclear engineer. I think. I could be wrong. Yes, he was a civilian nuclear engineer for the Navy after graduating the Citadel, which is a military college in South Carolina. So he was a nuclear engineer with a proclivity for metaphysics. The dude loved things about black holes and that kind of thing. So he could have been living 1,000 lifetimes based off of the research of 1,000 lifetimes before him, or not necessarily 1,000 because we know a lot more. But you get what I mean. Let's see. Strange women lying in ponds distributing swords is no means for a system of government. Oh, I got to rewatch Monty Python. These books are deep. Yes, Ben, they are. I have some friends whose house is like a baby making factory, the party house. Let's see, lightsaber is a little more likely. Amarasu. So I don't doubt that Wat.fandom.com has it spelled wrong, but they say Amaresu. Without looking at the actual books, I don't know. And that's more of a semantics of like exactly how it's spelled. But I think the overall kind of implication of how Robert Jordan came up with the name was like you either have the Dragon Reborn or a Mary Sue character. Andrew agrees with Sion. Smack! I don't think Lanfear ever knew about the women's key. You might be right about that, actually. Let's see. Ben right to the end, whispering in ears. And Charles says she wasn't horny at the moment. Ben says she's a hero. I mean, I guess it does kind of depend on what Lanfear felt like doing at the time. Because, I mean, so we have a proclivity for interpreting the Forsaken or anybody that lived during the Age of Legends as a prolific expert on everything that existed. But by the end of the series, when Egwene discovers the Flame of or literally makes the Flame of Tarvalin weave, we know I'm sorry. I just saw Amaterasu and it just fucking derailed me because I'm an anime nerd. Um, Sarima Cable. Uh, Amaterasu is a parallel of Amaterasu, who is a Japanese sun goddess and an important Shinto deity. Amaterasu is also the ability of the Uchiha, who is born of the inspiration of the sun goddess Amaterasu, that creates the seven or the black flames that burn even other flames for 7 days, which is how I know about it. From the Watt Wiki. That is in the parallel notes. You are 100% correct. Um, I'll even mention Izanagi in here. What? I'm such a nerd. My anime was triggered. I need a hero. There was a broken Choden Call access key at the Panarch's Palace Museum. Was there really? I remember the Mitsubishi logo. Let's see. The Panarch's Palace. And of course, when you just click Panarch's Palace, you get the worst possible search results. Panarch's Palace Museum. Question about an item in the Panarch's Palace. This is from 2015. I bet you it's about the fucking Mitsubishi logo. Silvery thing and other cabinets and a three-pointed star inside a circle. Mitsubishi was made of no substance she knew, softer than metal, scratched and gouged, yet even older than any of the ancient bones. From 10 paces, she could sense pride and vanity. Yeah. Let's see, Aaron. I'm out of people. There's actually work that has to get done. Shocker. Oh, that's terrible. No work ever needs to be done. One of the girls plays with it in a dream. It's broken. Let's see. Broken Choden call access key. Access key. Let's see. Two greatest song girl ever created. Blah 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 blah. It's been fought. It's been before that. 3 access keys have been found. 2 by Rand and Ruidion, and 1 alone. There is possibly more that exists. All right, so the 1 alone, notes 1 and 2, happened in Shadow Rising chapter 26, Shadow Rising chapter 11. Let's see, is there any notes? 5. Where is that on the page? 5. Gwen arrives in the palace right next to a large skeleton of a huge animal. As she walks around the museum, she sees an angreal, and next to it a finely jointed collar with 2 bracelets attached by chains. She feels darkness and pain associated with the collar. She also finds a broken figurine that painfully causes power to surge between it and her, leaving her queasy. 100% correct. You're right. It is Egwene playing with it, and it's Mercedes, not Mitsubishi. You're right. Y'all are right. I'm sorry. But you're right. Egwene does play with it in the dream. But yeah, the logo is the Mercedes logo, not the Mitsubishi or the Porsche logo. I knew it started with an M. I was kind of close. I think it's Egwene when she meets a mist the first time. I think you're right about the sequencing of that. Had a Tower of Mourning as well. What? Started to watch a movie about Scion yesterday. It's called Super Intelligence. Oh, you're absolutely right. And Scion, amazing. It was about an evil element AI bent on world domination and destruction. Yes, but a really nice one. It seems like a playoff of Lucy for some reason. Let's see. So, do y'all want to see? Nobody has seen. Well, one person has seen part of. As I shove my green screen back, which thankfully y'all couldn't see. Nobody has seen part of my cosplay. I am not going to reveal the entirety of what my cosplay is, but I'm willing to show a piece of it. if you guys want to see it. You're also welcome to say, no, piss off, Andrew. Talk about the Wheel of Time. We don't give a shit about your cosplay. That is fine with me. Oh, you guys. Zion, you're such a jewel for the community, and so many people don't haven't had the pleasure of realizing it yet. Some people have had the pleasure of being absolutely destroyed by you, which makes you both equally amazing and terrifying. Let's see. I mean, the Mitsubishi logo is actually very similar, just thicker arms and not circled. I'm going to take that as Andrew's not a complete dumbass. Give us no, it's not suspenders. I didn't buy suspenders. Show us. I'm out, folks. Got to go make some dinner. It's been fun. All right, Surium Cable, thank you so much for hopping in and providing your insight on Amaterasu. That's awesome, and it speaks to my anime heart, even though the link wasn't expressly anime. Cosplay. So, this is oh, can I actually get the whole thing in frame? Yeah. So this is part of my cosplay for. As soon as I figure out camera angles, hold on. There we go. For JordanCon / WatCon. Smack. Daniel is definitively going to the early release in LA. Josh may be going to either LA or Denver. I'm not sure. The thing that I didn't expect was exactly how thin this blade was. But it's interestingly super shiny. And I got like a cleaning and maintenance kit with it. So this is technically double bladed. Or double edged. It is a sword that is definitely a sword. It is one of 2 swords I own. It is not the most expensive sword in the world, so it is what it is. But I bought it purely because of the creation of, because of the construction here of the guard and of the pommel. It is reminiscent of a Viking style blade, though relatively smaller than traditional Viking style blades are generally more straight across than they are with downturn fulmer. Not fulmers. The fuller is what goes along there. What is the pauldron? No, pauldron's shoulder armor. I can't remember what they're fucking called. But you know what I meant. So this is one part of the cosplay that I'm doing that if you have read a guessing your cosplay a hack, yeah, that's exactly it. I am going to cosplay as somebody that thinks they're a content creator but actually isn't. I'm an absolute hack. Let's see. You aren't going to the ATL one? JordanCon? Yeah, we'll be at JordanCon. We are definitely going to be at JordanCon, though we still need to secure a hotel room, but we all have tickets because we did part of the GoFundMe to get tickets, and then I think we all have tickets anyway. So we will be at JordanCon 2022. ATL premiere? No, I will not be at the ATL premiere. That's an 8-hour drive for me. On a Monday, when I'm already going to be off of work on the 18th and 19th of the same week. I just can't do it. Let's see. You have Cyan has a couple of swords, a replica Roman Gladius and a prop sword replica of Callista's sword from Xena. What? Callisto's, not Callista's. What? I used to watch Xena all the time with my folks growing up. We're gonna have a Callisto sword. You're lucky. You have an entire Callisto costume as well, but it probably doesn't fit anymore. Who cares? Buy new clothes, make it fit, show up as the Callisto Aes Sedai or Rashomon, whichever you prefer. Because there's an there's an element of my cosplay that is very much Ashomon themed. However, I actually have somewhere in my boxes of stuff from my old house the original Badali sword and dragon pins, but I cannot find them. So I'm thinking about having the dragon and the sword embroidered on any of the articles of clothing that I'll be wearing that would need it. So, yes, I will need to do a piece bounding on the swords when I'm at the cons. Um, that's also something you will need for WatCon. Uh, let's see. Smack. I took the whole week off. Now there's a chance I have meetings on Tuesday of that week. I only have Thursday, Friday off, and most of Thursday will be spent probably in the literal air flying. Gonna cosplay as anything would be a red Aj. Red Aja Aes Sedai, absolutely. No, fair enough. Everybody relates to different folks. I like Callisto more than Xena. She was my favorite. What? Oh, Callisto was yeah. Okay, fair enough. I was like super confused for a second, and then I remembered. And I was like, oh, okay, fair enough. But I could never betray Lucy Lawless. I mean, the thought of betraying Lucy Lawless is just that's my favorite button on the soundboard now. So yeah, I'm gonna refill drink for the last time for this stream. What are some other things that have come to mind with the folks that are screening, that are going to the premiere, with the trailer, with the teasers, all this kind of stuff that has come out? What are some other thoughts that you have about the teaser, whether you've watched our breakdown or not? Um, that kind of stuff. What are your kind of thoughts? I want to talk about them, and I'll be right back. Oh, this is nice. Feels like my old Twitch streaming days where I used to game horribly and beg people for subs and, well, not donos, but I like Valda and the Aiel the best. Lan Moraine crying the least. You know, if I had the branding up enough, I would have all these stills. Which means that I still have all of these stills. I literally have a still that's called Watt TV trailer. So I have a LAN. Let's see, what else do I have? As soon as it lets me upload another one, I have an even Valda. I have a couple even Valdas. You've already seen these stills if you've watched the trailer, which is very obvious, or if you've watched our video on it. So we'll go with that. Land Moraine crying. I don't have the one of. I didn't make one of Moraine crying, but there's very much land crying. I mean, the emotion. That's one of the things I wonder is. I feel like Daniel Henney could grow a formidable beard, and they had to make it kind of patchy. Like that's one of the only critiques I guess I have of that. And then of course I've got the infamous Eamon Valda shot of him drinking from the silver chalice, the silver goblet, just sitting there looking out pleasingly across his silver plate in his white clothing. That's a horrifying scene. One thing I did note, I don't think there's anything wrong with men feeling and expressing emotions. The only thing I think there was a part of contestation with the land scene was how the water bond worked. I think that was the main point of people disagreeing. But when you look at even Valda here with his chalice, and I expressly chose this screen grab because it took me forever to realize that I could just go frame by frame natively with Windows, is you can still see the blood on his fingertips very clearly. But you also see the blood on the kerchief to his right, to the right of his hand. And the way that the blood is on the kerchief makes it like it was either a drop or two from like multiple fingers, or there was a drop and a slight wipe off, with the drop being the larger portion and the drop off being a smaller portion. And of course, there's the infamous. It's all infamous, but the most infamous of even Valda fingering this ring. If it's not an Aes Sedai, it could be a ring he had made or something of that nature. Who knows? But definitely some pretty epic scenes there. Says a man with facial follicles. I mean, this whole this is as much as it has grown since November of 2019. So it's pretty much where it's gotten to, and it's even lopsided, and it bothers me. Even Valda is going to be awesome. I agree. We definitely get to see him early on from the. Let me see if I can add the clip in, or not the clip, but the shot from the behind the scenes. Yeah, I can. I'm just going to wait for it to load, and bam. There he is. Middle, center, Eamon Valda. I think off of his right shoulder, as we're looking at the picture, this side where you see my hand to the left of him, I think that is going to be Bayar. Why? Because he kind of looks like Jim Carrey. That's about the best I got for you there. I don't take Bayar, Child Bayar, the character in the book, seriously. Now, the Twitter user, very different story. He's a pretty cool person to talk to be honest with you. Petra and I also last year. Yeah, only good for prologues. Love the little mustaches. Yeah, it looks like Super Troopers as white cloaks, to be honest with you, to some extent. I wonder if I can. I haven't got copyright claim for it yet, so I'm gonna pull some stuff up and see how much I can do, because I'm having a lot of fun with this. To be honest with you guys, and even if the stream gets taken down, I'm not that terribly concerned. What TV trailer? I don't know if I can share the audio, but I can at least play the video. Interesting, the White Cloaks use Sashimono style banners. That is kind of interesting. I mean, it is more kind of Sashimono in design. Where you have the kind of straight up and L shaped upside down L upside down. Can I not say the word down? Upside down L shaped banner holder rather than the cross style holder that is more indicative of Europe or European civilizations. But let's see how bad this goes. Share screen, screen 3. Well, sweet, I can share it. So yeah, the trailer just becomes like so intrinsically interesting. I don't know if y'all can hear the video from. Gotta keep working. Have a great day, everyone. Andrew, you have a great day. Work hard. Bring home the bacon. And we'll see you whenever the Norse reconquer North America. So this is one of the scenes that we pointed out that it looked like this is one of the few scenes that got any kind of VFX or CGI kind of alterations, where Moraine was intentionally de-aged, I guess maybe the word I'm looking for. Sorry, I look at messages. So this looks like it may be like a flashback to some of her testing or something like that. Did this automatically take off the? There we go. That needs to stay up because we're still talking about spoiler stuff for most people, at least, or people that haven't read the series. So it took a while for me to realize that the weaves are actually filling in the grooves on the oath rod. It's pretty dope. And of course, I got the finger touch here. So here is where I think there's a link happening between Leandrin, Moraine, and Karine. We see this weave that seems to kind of be coming from Moraine into Karine, or from Karine into Moraine, depending on how you want to interpret it. And kind of the same coming up here from Leandrin, which is kind of what I think. Disregard. Makes no sense. But I think we see the link for the first time. So one of the interesting facts is we know that all three, Leandrin, Moraine, and Alana, are gathered here together in the hall. Headed to bed. All right, Smack. Have a good night. I won't be on too terribly much longer. There's a part in the behind the scenes where you see from behind Moraine and Alana walking away from an area, and then you see them from the front, and it almost looks like they're walking away from this hall, which would seem to indicate that Leandrin is forced or chooses or whatever stays behind or is dismissed earlier. So there is the tattoo we talked about earlier. Took me forever to realize that in this scene that Moraine actually kind of crinkles her fingers a little bit, but it's still there. Can you guys hear the trailer when I play it, or is it just like silent and I'm just sitting here staring off screen? So one of the things Morshadi pointed out is that we have Lan here, and then we have Matt. Hear you, but not the trailer. Okay. I don't have a fancy audio setup for this, so I'm going to claim that I am not including the audio for potential copyright reasons. Let's go with that. So you see Lan, you see Matt, and then you see Rand, and then it's potentially Perrin back here carrying Moraine, which is backed up by part of Perrin or Marcus Rutherford saying that he has carried Rosamund Pike. So you get Egwene looking back through the two rivers. This is during a daylight scene. I mentioned in our breakdown that she's looking back as they're leaving the two rivers. I still think that's the case, but I think it's after. I think the Trolloc attack happens in two phases. Isn't that Egwene behind Matt? You're right. That is Egwene behind Matt. Apologies for that. But yeah, that is Egwene behind Matt. Perrin, sweaty, wearing thin clothes, a little bit of fire behind him. I don't think it's in the forge, but we'll see. So one of the things that I think, and we'll see in a later scene, is who Matt. So I take notice of the pillars and the pillar beyond him. But we'll see in a later scene who I think Matt is pulling the dagger on. Let's see. Is a group holding a shield also a link? Someone has to be in control for a link. Yeah. So I think Moraine, I think all the weaves are feeding into Moraine for her to be in control of the link. But I think when multiple people independently hold a shield, they have independent sections. That's why farther on, like Demise Wells, when Rand feels the different points of the shield, that he feels different points being tied off and weakened. So you think Matt is facing off against a fade, and Tom saves him. Interesting. I see more stone construction than I see wood construction, and I think we see enough wood construction to illustrate that Tom doesn't show up until Britain Spring. So here they are, destroyed in Wan's Field. Trot is coming down the mountain. I don't. Is this a Trolloc army? No, this isn't. I don't think this is a Trolloc army. Well, maybe. So Trolloc bursting in the farmhouse. Tam and Rand. Tam pulling his sword, defending himself. Lan there, laying down an exhausted Moraine. Obviously, Faldara. We're going to see our blonde-haired swearer boy, Uno, right there. Which most people are like, I never saw him as blonde, but it's never expressly stated in the series what color hair he has. It's just common perception that it's black, but it's never listed or described in the series. Agumbar looking like Lord Zuko. They amped up the Winter Night attack. I hope they keep RJ's refugee movement. It'll be good. What appears to be a yellow sister being burned, gagged, and burned at the stake. We'll see. Land, and then Moraine feeling extreme grief. Rand arriving to a destroyed or burned Elisa Mons field with Tam riding on the back of Bella. Talking to Egwene, I've lost too many people. As Rafe confirmed it, Aram laying here on the ground, and that will apparently be interested into why he is in the situation he is. And then the White Cloaks during daylight, which is interesting because in the books, Perrin is cornered with Egwene by the White Cloaks at night and kills him. This could be a capture scene after that happens. Who knows? So this is the one that I think. So given the shot we saw of Matt when he is holding the dagger out, I think this figure here is Matt. I think these are the two columns we see with this in between. I think this is Min. I think Min sneaks up on Matt, and Matt turns around and pulls a dagger because he stole Dagger Matt. So that's kind of what I think. Not even Egwene fighting against Trollocs. Egwene. No, not that far ahead. Alana channeling with some epic practical effects. Cuffs of the sleeve look like Tom. Do you have a reference picture for Tom in his cuffs? Matt just needs to unplug Min to the. Hey, sorry. Hey. Watch it. Watch it. The only character who misses with the knife every time. All right, look. All right. Min haters is the wrong place for you. All right. I think it's Min. I think it's our introduction to Min. The fingers seem fairly thin. They don't seem like Tom's kind of thicker fingers. I think this is Min right here. I don't think it's any sort of indication of any lamp, and I don't believe a lamp exists at all in the Wheel of Time as far as Min is concerned. I don't know if y'all want to hear me bluntly say what I think about people that think that Min is a lamp. There's an idea propagated by some fallacious, erroneous thought. So these are some frames that I missed in the original trailer of an actual view of Tom where we don't see that brightness on his sleeves here in Bren's spring, but it's definitely Tom facing off against a Murdraw. So very good there. I can't allow it. So we get to see, of course, the infamous picture of Logain facing off against a Galdean dagger. Love how they're keeping the sigils and stuff the same so we know where they're from. So this is an interesting one. The shadow seems to indicate that it may actually be Agomar. But since recording our reaction to the trailer, I'm thinking it may also be Ingtar. It could be either or. It could be Agomar or Ingtar, which could be very interesting. I don't know if anybody has figured out who this actor is. It sure does, ma'am. Do you think we'll ever go home? So there seems to be a bunch of Amon fielders rallying together to kill one Trolloc. They move back. It's Perrin. Where that's the best look you get. I think it is an axe. So as I drop stuff on the floor. Shenarans love their man buns. I mean, you're not wrong. And then obviously Amazon ends the fun for everybody. That is the trailer. For everybody that has already seen it 1,001 times. But we're coming up on 2 hours and 40 minutes of this live stream. This was an impromptu random live stream here. So I'm going to turn off the spoiler warning. For those of you that are interested, tomorrow, which is, or technically today for EST or anybody that's already on the 5th of November, we'll be having our first episode of Vets Discuss, where we'll be talking about our own military experiences as well as Robert Jordan's military experiences going on here in episode 1 of Vets Discuss. So if you're interested in listening to what veterans of multiple military branches and services across the world think about Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time, be sure to tune in tomorrow. This is at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please tune in. It's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait for it to happen. Thank you all so much that popped in for this completely unplanned, random, impromptu live stream. I am going to go figure out what I'm going to do for the next hour and a half or so instead of going to work, because I definitely should go to sleep because I might oversleep for work. But I look forward to hopefully seeing everybody that was here tonight or that can be here tonight show up at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time this evening, as it is for me, for Vets Discuss. So thank you all so much. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and I will see you all the very next time we do anything like this.
In the shadows, always watching, always running the show. In the tower, you can bring your pain. In the tower, you can feel the strain. You've been having so much trouble just fitting